We peer into a house occupied by two people as they lay there embracing. This is C and this is M, and that's the only information we know about these two, because the rest isn't important right now. They're just like any of us, living their day-to-day lives one moment at a time. They've built a life together, one of connection and love. They've turned this house into a home, every room filled with memories and mementos to things they enjoy. An environment where they can feel safe in each other's touch. There's something delicate about watching two people side by side. No words need to be said, but you can feel what they're feeling. An intimate scene reminding us of that warm comfort shared through connection. Just as quickly, we are reminded how fragile and fleeting life is. As M is left to cope with the loss of her partner, C is born into a new life with a choice, to move on to whatever comes, letting go of this time, or to hold on to this existence, forever a bystander, able to watch time unfold, but never partake. As C makes his journey back to what was once his home, a place filled with love and vitality, he now begins to realize is just an empty home, used as one big symbol of lost time. As he comes to understand he will never make another memory, share another life, or feel another's embrace, his time as we know it is over. And in that same vein, he has to do nothing but watch as the woman he once shared this life with waste away her existence, grieving the connection that will no longer be shared between them. For C, he is quite literally stuck between two worlds, struggling to hold on to what he lost while denying the impending afterlife, or whatever comes next. Every shot with him clearly framed to show that while he is still there in spirit, to everyone else, it's an empty room. For M, we watch a very realistic and sad betrayal showing the toll losing a loved one could take. We hear children playing outside and people living their lives, but stay focused inside, watching M overeat a pie while drowning in heavy emotions, until ultimately, it's too much to take in. It's hard to watch someone grieve and go through something like that, and it's even harder when it's someone you love. C not only is coping with losing his own life, but now is forever stuck to watch M do the same. But like all things, there is change to come as time passes. Eventually for M, the worst days become a little less bad, and the good ones become more frequent. As she begins to gain her life back and move on, C realizes he can't do the same. As M starts to meet new people, pack her things, and move on to that next stage of life, she leaves behind a sad ghost in an empty home. The concept of grief is a constant in this film. Whether grieving a loved one, time, or even an ideal relationship, it's a constant struggle our characters face in this battle with time. It's ultimately inevitable for things to change, as we are always moving forward in different directions, lives beginning and ending. If this is also common, why is it always so hard? Well, the simplest answer is because we make it that way. We choose to put so much emotion and value into the lives we build and the connections we make, that it's difficult to cope with the fact that those aspects of our lives don't last forever. But it's not a bad thing. It's actually one of the main points this film wants us to think about. The meaning of life. As C is left alone, the life he once knew seemingly gone into time, he now has to roam these empty rooms, struggling as he holds on to what he no longer has. Only now, time seems to move at a much more rapid pace. Within seconds, the house is once again being occupied, but this time by a single mother and her two kids. It really begins to set in now that he is nothing but a bystander to time. His home is changing, his partner has moved on, and all he can do is just stand there. This elicits a lot of heavy emotion out of C as he begins to retaliate. Breaking plates and scaring the family, he gives us new perspective into the idea of a malicious entity, not one of pure evil malice, but simply a man coping with the loss of life. Time continues to move forward, people move in and out, and change is constant, but eventually we get to a party where the ideas of the film become clear.
Everything you've ever strived for, everything that ever made you feel big or stand up tall, it'll all go.
We listen to this man rant and put forward an existential thought, a thought that no matter what we put value in, money, beliefs, connection, anything, it ultimately will get swept away with time. People will die, the universe will rise and collapse, history may even repeat itself, but in the end, everything we have and who we are will cease to exist and be forgotten, making this all seemingly meaningless. The irony in all of this is C is a direct opposition to what this man is ranting about. While he is talking about how pointless things are and the fact that no one will know any of this in the future, and the things we put value in wither away, a ghost who put so much value in life and the connection he once had is still here holding on and listening to this very conversation. While it is true our existence eventually gets lost in time, the value we put into our lives does not lack meaning. At the beginning of the film, Em told us that every place she's lived, she leaves a little note behind about something she liked about the place or her life there, like leaving a little piece of herself in the past. After C died, she left one last note before leaving and painted over it. So throughout the journey of the film, C has been scratching and trying desperately to get to that note, but has failed each time. Eventually, as time passes, the house gets torn down and new infrastructure gets put on top of it. History continues until we're all the way back in the settlers' age, and then even continues right until the day C and M moved in together. Whether in a time loop or history is just repeating itself, we're unsure, but it all goes to show C's commitment to holding on. Despite everything the man at the party said about how fleeting and inconsequential our lives are, we have a lonely ghost showing us purpose, showing us that even though it's true everything eventually ends in time, we have the opportunity every day to choose value. The idea that if nothing has meaning, everything and anything could have meaning if we so choose. So why not choose love, connection, passion, anything you could dream of? Because if a ghost can hold on to that love for an eternity, we all can find value in something. But there's one thing I haven't mentioned yet, which is crucial to why C is holding on. Regret. What if I told you, despite everything we've talked about, this wasn't an ideal relationship? Like anything in this world, it is without perfection. Going back to the very beginning of the film, we actually see the disconnect between them. While M was ready to move on from this house and move somewhere modern like the high-rise we see later in the story, C was still holding on to this home and the life they had there. They were creating distance between each other and ultimately starting to go two separate paths despite the love they shared. And while things like this happen all the time, people grow apart, have different goals and ideas for their future, C's final decision is the reason he's still here as a ghost. The last memory they have together is C telling M he's okay with moving. A decision they never got to live out. You see, C's biggest regret is the lost life they had together because he waited to go. And the thing he never got was closure. That's why he clings so desperately to getting this note. It's the last piece of the life they shared, and we as the audience never even find out what it says. But from what we know, whatever M wrote was enough for C to let go and accept the time they had together. confirmation that the connection they had was real and the love they shared was always mutual, or it was just a silly joke of a memory they once had. That piece of paper was enough to let rest their life as forever a moment in time.